Hey, what's going on? Benji Kaiser here today, talking to you about the difference between a graphic designer and an illustrator, as well as some of the tools, resources, and design programs or Illustrator programs that you'll be using within the two different fields. These are quite separate and differing fields, so you want to make sure that you know the correct path you're going down and the resources that you need to maximize your ability in that specific industry. So as we're going through the video and we're talking about some of the gear and tools and tips and resources, you can check those out in the description below, as well as some videos that might help you mentioned in the YouTube cards above. And if you've yet to subscribe to this channel, I highly recommend doing so. I put out daily videos helping you pack a punch and build an audience. So let's jump on over into the content. So graphic designer versus illustrator. Let's really talk through that and figure out what the key differences are and which one is right for you. Illustrator. We'll start with that one first. This is one that I do not put myself in the camp of. This is somebody who from a young age has always been in a sketchbook, loves concepting, loves building out art and ideas and themes and big elaborate sketches, maybe even sketches like Marvel characters or dinosaurs or just really fun stuff. Just has quite the imaginative background to their skill set. Now, graphic designer, for me, I have a background in photography. So when I really got into looking towards going to college, I thought, okay, how can I take my photography and really maximize my skills within that? And graphic design was a good fit for me because it has a lot to do with composition, layout, organization of text and images, graphic elements, and things along those lines. So you have really kind of creative expression, sketch artist taken into a digital world versus, for me, a photographer who then takes his images, resources, text, stories, and organizes them into magazines, organizes them into publications, informational materials, maps, all those different things. So printed material, organizational skills, versus illustrator who's creating the illustrations possibly for the magazines, who's creating the imagery for books. Maybe you want to illustrate for children's books or you're illustrating for comics. I hope you're starting to kind of get the gist here of graphic designer versus illustrator. Now, some of the gear you need. As a graphic designer, I find one of my biggest resources is obviously a laptop computer or a desktop computer. So if you're interested in the best laptops computers, I have already made a video for that. You can check that out in the YouTube cards above. But a laptop is going to be one of your main items that you're going to be using as a graphic designer. For an illustrator, same thing. But with the difference here is you're going to want to be using probably a mouse as a graphic designer and a Wacom tablet as an illustrator. So that'll just give you the ability to basically draw directly on your computer with a pen and tablet. It's a fantastic piece of technology. If you've yet to hear of them, no worries, check those out in the description below. Alright, now, what applications are you using? And that is software. So the Adobe Suite is the go-to in the professional industry for illustrators and graphic designers. Graphic designers are going to use a combination of tools, and illustrators are as well, but they vary slightly. Graphic designers, your main workhorse is going to be InDesign. You're going to be doing all of your final production work within InDesign. You're going to use Photoshop and a little bit of Illustrator to complement your work within InDesign, but as a whole, that's where you want to be building out your projects, creating your magazine layouts, creating your book layouts, etc. You'll use Photoshop for photo editing and manipulation, and you use Illustrator to create some simple graphic elements. Now for the Illustrator, you're going to be using Adobe Illustrator. That will help you to create very clean, very scalable graphic shapes. You can complement your work with Photoshop, but I don't recommend it. The reason is rasterization versus vector. Now what that means is Photoshop is a pixel-based product. So that means whenever you build out a piece of art, it only has a certain amount of scalability before it starts to look pixelated, like a bad photograph. Whereas Illustrator is created with vector, and that is scalable, infinite. That has an infinite scalability, and you can scale it very small as well. So that's why I recommend working within primarily Illustrator, unless you just have to do something in Photoshop. I hope this gives you kind of a basic understanding of the two industries. I hope this gives you a basic understanding of the two kind of job roles or job titles, as you want to call them. The income levels are going to vary according to obviously the company you work for and the skill sets that you have. But as a base, graphic designers are making to get started around $36,000 depending on your geographic location. And illustrators are going to sit around the same area, maybe a little bit lower, around 32 to 35, so just a little bit less, only because advertisers tend to lean towards graphic designers because they have a bit of a wider skill set sometimes. But if you can build up your skill set as an illustrator, you should have no problem turning in a pretty good starting salary. I hope that has helped you get your gears turning on graphic designer versus illustrator. If you have any tips, if you're an illustrator, you're a graphic designer, you're like, hey, you missed this, or you really should have added that, please comment below. Please give me your feedback. I want to make sure that we're giving the best resources here for people jumping into our industry. This is the best time to become a creative. Gary Vaynerchuk said, the creative is the variable. So you can have the best business idea, but if you don't have a good, solid creative team or creative bone in your body, your idea may in fact not take off. So this is a fantastic time to becoming a graphic designer or an illustrator. Again, please subscribe to the channel. I believe with daily videos, you're bound to find something that helps you out. Hit the like button if this has helped you at all, and I will see you here on the next episode. I'm Benji Kaiser of BenjiKaiser.com.